Okay, let me uh, change the settings and then we can officially get started. Close some of this other stuff so that we might be able to get a more receptive video. Because I did forget about this story, so I'm gonna try to add it to the title. So it's Fall of Progressives and 1,000 virus deaths. All right, let's resume. All of progressives plus virus kills. Was it 1,000 U.S. deaths? Virus. That's a nice little double title. Although we can bet we're going to get demonetized because anytime you put the word death or killing or anything like that in the title, they always come after you. But I was kind of reacting to that earlier and just surprised by the fact that this seems as if it's not going to end anytime soon, unfortunately. And I also wanted to address the, I guess, kind of lackluster state that the progressives are in. So, Door has been streaming a lot more often because of the quarantine. And throughout the week, I've been watching some of his streams, and he just seems so despondent over the events of the last couple of weeks. You know, Sanders losing all these different states, Gabbard deciding to not only withdraw because he supported her staying in the race, but also endorsing Biden. It's just kind of sad to see him in that condition, especially since you can tell from both his tone and demeanor that he did not want to criticize those two politicians over the activities they've had this month and in recent time. Announced he's ditching the next. Oh, I know he did. I thought the one that they had was the last one, like the 11th one. I thought that was the final one because I didn't see any more on Wikipedia, which I know isn't a reliable source, but they did announce 11 debates. So him skipping the proposed 12th one kind of reminds me of when Hillary, with her evil self, skipped the. Remember the debate that was supposed to take place before the California primary, like maybe a couple of days before she just said screw it, and that pissed Sanders off because that was a good chance for people to see a progressive talk to a moderate that people were only voting for because she had a vagina. Yeah, like I said, I had some itty bitty amount of respect for the voters last time around because it genuinely felt as if they had been tricked into supporting a establishment character, and now it's just backing anybody that's not Sanders, even a man who can't even utter a couple of sentences without sounding insane. The greatest nation ever. I don't know who said that, not me. We did a video, I think it was maybe a year and a half ago, called The Fall of the US or The Death of the US or something to that effect. So Whoever was telling you that it was the greatest place in the world, no, that was not me. That was some other character. That'd be funny if Human 2.0 says he thought that because all the commentators look the same. He just makes some comment like that where it's him basically joking, but it has a racial tone to it, even though all the commentators are different ethnicities, which is why it would be funny for him to have made that comment. Now, Biden's going to try to ditch as many attempts at speaking long term as possible. I really wouldn't be surprised. Remember, people were saying Trump is going to ditch the general election debates. He's going to skip out of those. Don't be surprised if that's what Biden does. Tulsi has a cult following like an actual one. They're constantly concerned trolling Bernie and Bernie supporters for not being radical enough. They're still doing this even after Tulsi endorsed Biden. I don't know enough about Komet to make that comment. No, her supporters, I've seen some of them try to pretend as if they've been. It's the same thing with the Yang supporters, where I just remember being nothing but nice to those two particular groups. And it's like they'll find every way they can to dismiss someone. Like they'll be upset if you don't agree, if you didn't agree that he was going to just magically surge and be in first place. And then they would say that some random Sanders supporter somewhere pissed them off, so now they don't want to watch you, or uh, that's what Sanders gets. Just they take it away from being about policy to being about people supporters, and no one can control who supports them. I can't believe we never got the Trump versus Joe Walsh debate. We did get a debate between Walsh, what was that governor's name? Stanford or Stafford? Mark Safford, I think, whatever his the South Carolina governor, and the other one, Weld, who was in the race as well. So we didn't get that debate because the RNC basically said screw all the candidates that aren't Trump, and they started canceling. And like I said, they already showed how thin-skinned they are, because if you know Trump's going to get 90+% of the vote, why not hold it? Why not let him bask in his overwhelming victories? I think he only didn't get what, one delegate out of all those states, which is really disturbing. But whatever. I just can't get over how there was like 40% of Republican voters wanted someone to challenge him, and then no one voted for them when they got in. But I was going to discuss also that a lot of people are currently talking about getting another person to lead the progressive movement that's not Sanders. I mean, they act like Sanders is on his deathbed or something. Because he said before that he intends to. We didn't say it, but it's been confirmed. He intends to run for a Senate seat again. So I don't really see him going anywhere. He's just not going to run for president after this, which everybody already expected anyway. So it's weird to see them trying to now shift it over to AOC and these other people that just got there or barely. Yeah, I'm not feeling the death threats at this point, so we can get rid of that. But they try to shift it to all these other people who have had nothing, no long term involvement with this stuff. Like I just don't know what AOC has done other than the tweets and getting a bunch of coverage for no reason to now be the progressive leader. Especially when and Jimmy's been covering this as well. She capitulates to the DNC as well, or just as much, if not more, than Sanders. Like it's just been a repeated wave of things she's done that are just weird, man. Like I'll vote for Pelosi if she remains the most progressive person who's running for speaker. Yeah, because it's fractured and divided all over the place, and then you have these actual supporters of policy, like myself, and then you have people who are doing the cult thing, like with the Gabbard supporters. I mean, you do have some Sanders supporters that are like that too, but They take it to a whole nother level where I remember we had the BDS vote, and out of the quote unquote House progressives, it was Gabbard, Rowe, and what's her name, Presley from Massachusetts that voted against it, and the only one of them I saw catching any hell was Rowe. So Tulsi was able to get away with it because she's running for president, has her cult supporters that defend her no matter what. And then Presley was able to get away with it because she's part of, AOC's crew. Let me see. See if Ruben wrote anything. If you're American, you don't know where the idea of then you got to look it up, especially. Okay, but what does that have to do with anything human? This is how you decide to make your return after vanishing for what was that 3 months. You decide to come back and start writing about Kermit and what? This is getting as weird as when Jimmy was doing a stream and he put his cat in his hand and people started trolling the cat talking about that cat is ugly. And I hate that he takes his streams down because I was going to screenshot some of that stuff because they were actually they're trolling the cat. Not the cat, the dog rather, his pet. Just it's just so weird. We're gonna your dog. You see, AOC is super embracing the Democrats with everything. Ilhan Omar was starting to do that too last year, but I've noticed she's slowly starting to distance herself from the Democrat Party line again. Yeah, that's because she realized very quickly that the DNC will turn on you in 5 seconds. Remember, she was only in office for maybe, I think, 3 or 4 weeks when remember the "It's all about the Benjamins" comment she made on Twitter, and then Schiff and the rest of the AIPAC taking AIPAC money taking Netanyahu bootlicking Democrats decided to go against her. So she's more acquainted with the moneyed interest side of the party that just rebukes you whenever their coins are called into question than AOC is, because AOC really hasn't experienced actual condemnation from members of the party pretty much ever. And again, she has only been around for 2 years, but or actually no less than 2 years, excuse me. But the point is, she's not as used to it as someone like Sanders or even Omar. Like I would say, Omar is more used to it than Roe, because the only time they've tried to mess with him was when he was talking about, I think it was Venezuela, not messing with, not putting sanctions on them, and you had some idiot that was trying to compare him to Rohrbacher on Russia. It was weird, but that was probably the only time I've seen him really be gone after by the mainstream Democrats. So he's usually able to get away from a lot of the controversies. Don't know if Adam Schiff is related to Jacob Schiff, but you should learn more about who Jacob Schiff is. Very important figure in American history. Well, when I was looking stuff up, and I will say I do regret the fact that that's probably the only thing today I wasn't able to do that much of. I saw no relation between the two of them. I think they would have mentioned on his page if that were the case. I'm looking it up right now. Let's see, his his grandson was John M. Schiff. Uh, and then Schiff's descendant was married to Gore's daughter, the former vice president, not Vidal Gore or any person like that. Let's see here. Yeah, they have no relation. So yeah, I don't even know what's even being written in the chat. Oh, you called a man. Ooh, that was a mistake. Yeah, we don't play that game here. You don't disrespect me on my content. Sorry. Well, now he lives in the ban zone. Telling you, people go crazy on here. Like, Ruben, what is up with the with people on these streams? Yeah, but like they consciously decide to just not come back. This guy decides to come back after 3 months of vanishing, and then starts writing crazy stuff about the boy and all. Like, it's just disappear and enjoy the trip to no man's land. Telling you, that is one of the most aggravating parts about doing this, when you try to discuss something and then people don't want to be on topic. They want to write crazy stuff, as you might remember from October with a certain other user. Now, that was my favorite part about the quarantine. They were saying, "Oh, more people are going to be watching stuff." No, they're not. Not at all, man. That's they just they say one thing. Like, first it's the algorithm. First it's people's schedules. They'll find a bunch of reasons to. I actually did have one person who uh, did the same kind of thing where they vanished for a while, and I believed that they were busy. And then what ended up happening was that I kept seeing them on other people's streams, and I was like, "So wait a second, you can be on everybody else's thing, but not mine." I didn't confront them. I didn't say anything to them directly. I just kind of just wrote them off as just being flaky, and that was crazy. So now that we've gotten rid of the nonsense, we can get back to the topic at hand. You have to start learning about more obscure topics that are interconnected to modern current events. I mean, I don't dispute that, but if you saw what was written on his part, it has everything to do with you, black boy. Like, what? So I'm not in the mood for a lot of the disrespect that's shown toward people who are just trying to discuss something. Yeah, there's a really just, I don't know. I guess I'm so used to the online clowns having this really rude demeanor for no reason. But when you try to show someone, even if you're like, let's say, having a dissenting opinion, a slight amount of courtesy, I just don't understand the point of stuff like that. So yeah, it's just another day of of YouTube ridiculousness. I checked the Netflix catalog and the front page is filled with pandemic content. Yeah, because it basically has frozen not just the economy but entertainment. That people can't film anything because of the pandemic. They're having events shut down, like the Olympic Games, all screwed over. But yeah, I hope you were able to comprehend what I was trying to convey. Because I think probably I'm best acquainted with stuff that's happened over the last 50 years. Just if I were to put a time cap on it, or maybe I guess at this point it'd probably be 60. But the point is, there is a way to discuss things without, like, I don't think I've ever distinctively called someone who just recurringly shows up out of their name. So that's yeah, they pulled it back, referring to the Olympics. So they're talking about all the dollars that have been wasted by scheduling events. Like, hey, well, you can replace coins, but you can't replace lives. So it's a small price to pay for people's health. But yeah, to message AOC's brother, I'll probably make another account and ask him on there, because I want to use that one just as, in the worst case scenario, like, they can't do anything with that one because there's no tweets on it. So I'll make another one, then try to set up this interview. I think what will end up happening is probably something identical to when I tried to ask Crowley if he wanted to come over. You don't get a response. I don't know, I'm just so over people online. They just they say one thing, do the other. That's their number one theme. Basically going around and claiming something and then their actions say otherwise. Japan must be outraged. Oh, they were. All the cash they lost out on. Now the coins have definitely been getting burned, and the paper as well. That's why you have Trump talking about reopening everything by Easter. Like it will be the most just miraculous event I've ever seen if this is over by Easter. And I have no reason to believe that it's going to be expedited that soon. Let's see here. And people write crazy stuff on here. When do you think that work should get brought back? Um, when you get to a point where you have a cure for this, or at least some way of knowing that if people catch it, even if they have the underlying symptoms or they're elderly, which increase their chances of dying from it, that they can be confirmed to survive with whatever you've developed. So basically, it's like a don't put anyone back until you have a contingency plan, and even the people who have the most chance of dying from this also have something that they know is reliable in curing them. Also, I'm gonna have to end this because of more ridiculous stuff. I'll actually send you a message on Discord, Ruben, explaining why we're terminating this so quickly. But I will be doing the Excrement Employers 3, where you'll see over, I think it's almost 40 applications from this month alone, including 30 to one place or to a series of places. So, and maybe I can, again, we'll do a stream on Saturday. So I do apologize for the abruptness. Uh, I don't apologize for some of the weird stuff that was written earlier. And I hope you enjoyed this brief thing. So, thank you for watching. Have a good night.